So let me first explain to you the definition of LinkedIn. Is that fair? Are you good if I don't hover by this? It's like a
Absolutely.
barrier between me and you.
Okay.
Oh, golly dang, I'm old. I need that prop. So let me define LinkedIn. It's a social networking tool. I don't like to refer to it as a social media site. That puts it in the bucket with Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, Tinder, and all those other things. I like to think of it as a social networking tool. And it's a professional social networking tool, so we should have our white shirts on, or at least look good, at least act good, talk a little more professionally than we do around the barbecue, because it's a professional networking tool. And I use it that way. I also will define it a little bit more in that it's not just a place to stick your resume. Matter of fact, I very clearly tell people, it is not your resume. Think of this. Think of the Goodyear blimp as it's going by. It's your public billboard floating around the internet. And the best thing you could do with your public billboard floating around the internet is make it look as good and speak as good about you as it possibly can. And often, our resumes are nothing more than our obituaries. Think about that for a minute. I used to be here, I used to do that, I did this, I did that. Your LinkedIn profile should be very deliberate, very blunt, very bold, keyword rich, even a little bit pompous. As you stand up straight on the internet and go, I'm Teddy Burris, LinkedIn coach, trainer, public speaker. I'm all about helping people master this business tool. And everything I say down throughout my profile clearly supports that. So just a different perspective than most people have. It's just another resume. It's not. It's a very powerful business tool. So yeah, I hope that definition makes sense. I really think it's important for us to understand that before we can even figure out how to use this tool. Otherwise, we use a screwdriver to stir our cocktails, and that's not necessarily what a screwdriver is for. It might do it, not what it's for. Let me also talk a little bit about when you're using a business tool, often we should have our purpose and our goal in mind. And the same thing with LinkedIn. You need to know your goal. What am I trying to achieve? Where am I trying to go? What am I trying to do? Here's some other words that people don't think about often. Who is the most important viewer of my stuff? The most important viewer. Often I hear this, anybody and everybody. Well, that's just, what's the word, peachy? But it's way more than that. If you think of if you use the philosophies of Marketing 101, everybody is not your customer. There are target groups of people who clearly want to know who you are and what you do and may need what you have to offer. It's not everyone. So you need to think about who's your most important viewer so that you understand, and that would be someone relevant to your goal. And then everything you do on LinkedIn should be actions that fulfill the purposes of achieving that goal. Again, a little bit different than most people think about. So yes, I'm a career transition coach. I help my unemployed friends figure out how to find jobs. And I think it's important for them to understand they're using LinkedIn to present themselves to the world, whoever the world is, the most important viewer, so that they can get that conversation, to get that interview, to get that opportunity, to get that job. And so it's about being discovered. And so my career transition folks will use it for that goal. But then my business professionals who have business goals and purposes, have business agendas and business intent, what's their purpose in using it? So they can be found by their best possible client. And when they're found, because you traipse across my LinkedIn profile on the internet, and they read it and go, Teddy Burris, LinkedIn coach, trainer, public speaker, all about helping people master this business tool. Wow, this guy has been there, done that, been involved in this, and everything they read on the profile supports what Teddy says he is. So that when they read that, it adds a little more validity to the message that I start with. So think of your purpose and your goal when you're using that business tool, and be very intentional about using the right words. Not a lot of filler words. We'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. Social networking. So I define LinkedIn as a social networking tool. Remember that? Social network, not a social media site. I contend that diminishes the value. So as a social networking tool, you get this often, you get people who go, well, I'll just get on here and I'll click accept and click accept and click accept and click accept. This is fun, send an invite. And they're not thinking about what they're trying to do in that act of networking. All they are doing is collecting a stack of business cards. Virtually, right? Everybody have a LinkedIn profile? Anybody not? Everybody but my friend here, not yet. You don't have a need for it yet. No purpose, no goal. True? Not yet. So when you're thinking about social networking, it's not about hiding behind the screen and click accept, send a bunch of invites to a bunch of people, and then now what? That's not networking. That's going to a networking event and running around the room, getting everybody's business card, and then leaving. Have you ever seen anybody do that? Or run around the room and doling out their business cards and then leaving. You ever seen that happen?
Yeah.
2 at a time. I won't call out any particular industries. You know? But that's what some people do, and that's what they do on LinkedIn as well, and that is a total disrespect of their personal brand and of their network, because they're not creating any value. All they're doing is collecting business cards. Social networking is about making a connection, having just the smallest amount of conversation, developing the slightest amount of relationship, and then getting an opportunity to expand upon that where relevant and where purposeful. Mutually beneficial. It's not all about Teddy. It's all about mutually beneficial. Social networking is the same philosophies as in real life networking. Make a connection, develop a conversation, nurture the relationship, and get to the point where it grows, where it can and where it should, to how we can help each other. That's how we do it. Do the same thing on social media. So think about that in social networking. So let's talk about how do you take this thing called LinkedIn, LinkedIn.com, how do you get on there, and how do you get value from it? It's a social networking tool. It's all about making connections and developing relationships. It's all about being seen and perceived as the authority that you or want them to perceive you as. How do we do this? I'm a three-legged kind of a guy. You can't tell it by looking at me, but I'm a three-legged kind of a guy. I think everything that's successful in life is based on 3 legs. And I think, and I've proven with no doubt at all from my own activities that LinkedIn is a 3-legged tool. I'll tell you the 3 legs and I'll explain them to you. Leg number 1 is build a bold, powerful presence. Build a professional presence. It has to be bold as well. A professional presence. Leg number 2 of the stool is to build a meaningful network. Build a meaningful network of people. And then leg number 3 of the stool is build a reputation. Hopefully a professional reputation. Sometimes we build a reputation and we wonder why we did that. And then we go fix it. But the 3 stools of getting value from LinkedIn is build a presence, build a network, build a reputation. So let's talk high level how to do that. So to build a presence on LinkedIn, that's all about building your profile. So it very clearly says, I'm Richard, and this is what I do. It's not I'm Richard, and this is all the other stuff I used to do. It's I'm Richard, and this is what I do. So it's your headline, your picture. Everybody needs a LinkedIn profile picture. Anybody got a LinkedIn account and not a profile picture? Is that smile an acknowledgement that you don't? Good for you. I'm proud of you, because everybody needs a profile picture. Here's why. It shows that you are approachable. No profile picture? They don't want anything to do with me. That's how people think. This thing right here gets all wrapped up and they're hiding from me. So have a profile picture. And then you write your headline. It very clearly tells the viewer, this is what I do. And then you write your summary and you tell your story, your accomplishments. First person. This is Steve talking to Teddy. It's not some dude that Steve hired to tell me about Teddy or to tell Teddy about you. Wow, I said that all backwards. It's about Steve telling me clearly, Teddy, this is who I am and what I do. And in friendly words. It's not business bullet points. I did this, I was the man that did this. I was blessed to be a part of this. I enjoyed doing this work. It was rewarding for me to be a part of this. People don't use those words in real life, but think about that. When we use words that show that we enjoy what we do, don't people want to work with people who love doing what they do, rather than people like, my boss told me to do it. So write your profile in a powerful, positive, friendly way that says, I like doing this, I enjoy it. It's whatever words are real to you. Use positive, friendly, enjoyable words. And when you write that experience, when you talk about what you do today and what you did in the past, you need to modify it and write it and twist it and turn it into words that show professional growth to where you are today and what you do. If in 1910, whoever was working back then, you were digging ditches, and today you're a painter, that's not so relevant. So we don't talk about stuff that's not relevant. We talk about things we did in those prior jobs that are relevant to what we do. And if you put your thinking cap on, you can find lots of things that you've done in the past relevant to who you are and what you are today. You just got to think about it. So when you're building your profile, you want to use words that are the words that your most important viewer gets. You want to speak to the most important viewer, and you want to tell them what you do, your accomplishments, and why you love doing what you do, using your words. So that's the gist of building a profile. There's a lot of other pieces to growing your profile, your skill words, your volunteer work, the story of why connect with me, recommendations, projects. There's lots of different areas that you can populate. I think there's about 21 specific areas in LinkedIn where you can tell your story. And here's the very important point. This is not a race. It's a journey. Don't go home and try to do it in one sitting. You'll get a headache, and you'll call me and you'll tell me you have a headache. Take your time. Think about it. Really put some effort into thinking it through. It's a long-term project, just not something you need to have done today. The second leg is to build your network. Build a network of people who are relevant to you in many different ways. And there's lots of ways to build that network. There's lots of ways to find people. First of all, LinkedIn is always telling you, Teddy, here's people you should know, or people you may know. You can always find somebody out there like, oh my golly, there's Cindy. I've known Cindy for years. I'm going to send her an invite. Or when you meet people in real life. I'm a business card guy. If I get a business card from someone, when I go home, I'm very purposeful about going to LinkedIn and see if Steve's on LinkedIn. If he's on LinkedIn, I send him an invite. I send him a personal note so he knows I care about the relationship from the get-go. Not later on I come back and go, dude, I really do care about you. Start from the beginning, letting him know that you want to develop an appropriate, relevant relationship. And so I'm all about, when I get a business card, connecting with people. And then additionally, when my friends tell me that I should meet a gentleman named Darren or Dave, and I forgot the gentleman's name already, then I very clearly say, I want an introduction to that person. And the moment I get an introduction, I send them a LinkedIn invite, because I now have his email address. Every chance I get to connect with somebody who's relevant to me in a broad sense, life, career, business, community, not just people who can buy my stuff, but when I meet people, I want to connect with them on LinkedIn. Because then I have you in a place where you can see my conversation, you see my information, you see what I have to share. You can look at me and my stuff and go, oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about, I hope. I'm all about connecting where I can there. I think it's important. When you're connecting with people, first of all, the rule is this. It is in the LinkedIn terms and services, even though they let you violate it left and right, the LinkedIn terms and services section 8.2, is how close I know 8.1 to 8.2. It very clearly says, do not send an invite to someone who does not know you. I never will send an invite to someone who doesn't know me. But if somebody tells me that, Teddy, you need to meet this dude named Richard, I say, great. Send Richard an email, copy me on it, and introduce me to him. Richard now knows me. He's never met me, but he now knows me. So I use that as my rule. I will never send an invite to someone who does not know me, but I'm very purposeful about asking my friends to introduce me to people on a regular basis. Introductions are powerful. It's a great way to grow your network. And when you grow your network, when you make that connection, first of all, if you send the invite, you send a personal note and say, it was really good to meet you, Michelle. I really had a great time at Toastmasters tonight. Please join me on LinkedIn. When you're friendly, people are more apt to go yes. When you create relevance, they're more apt to say yes. You just send out a naked invite that says, please join me on my professional network. I don't know who you are. I don't know the purpose, the goal, the intent, the value. So be very, very purposeful about personal invites. And then when they accept that invite, or they send me an invite and I accept, I immediately start to engage. Immediately. To the extent that today, I accepted an invite before I left my house to come here, and I queued up on my phone, not this one, but on my other phone, and so I could find the guy's phone number, and I called him on the way down the road. He sends me an invite to connect. I don't know this guy. I know his company. I know his people. There's my relevance. I know his company, his people. So I said yes, and then I called him on the way down the road. He's like, oh my God, you called me. Nobody ever calls me. I'm like, dude, I'm a little different. Okay? And I'm not all about mulch. I try my best to be honest and sincere when I connect with people, and I immediately engage. And that's how I develop a relationship. So step 3, we talked about building a profile. Very clearly says this is who I am and what I do and how I help people, what I enjoy. Step 2 was build a meaningful network. This is a journey as well, by the way. This is not something you need to have done today. You connect with people on a regular basis. And there's no magic number. People go, Teddy, how many is enough? That's not a real piece of information. Enough is when you're done. And you're done when somebody else tells you you're done. I don't have any say over that. The good Lord tells me when to stop. So build your presence, build your network, and then we build our reputation. And the way we build our reputation on LinkedIn is based on the conversations that we get into, the topics that we're willing to engage in, the groups that we're willing to join, what we share. That's how we build our reputation in life, fair? If I'm up here all about talking about, fluffy kitty cats and gorgeous dogs, or hot cars and fast, what's that other thing, something to do with women, or fast cars and hot, if I'm all about talking about that stuff, how's my reputation going to grow or not?
It's going to diminish.
It's going to absolutely diminish. And the same thing about politics and religion.
Yeah.
I'm a political kind of guy. I love the political system. I'm being a little facetious. And the same thing with religion. I'm a religious guy. I have friends who are ministers and rabbis and priests. But on social media, you don't know me well enough to get involved in a political conversation or religious conversation. Furthermore, I don't know you well enough to do that either. So I do not engage in conversations about fast cars, hot women, politics, or religion. I stay away from there. What I do talk about is LinkedIn, social networking, helping people, ideas and philosophies about how to grow a business, leadership, teamwork, all the things that are all wrapped around social media. That's what I engage in. And that's how I grow the reputation that Teddy Burris has as a LinkedIn coach, trainer, public speaker, and consultant. And I encourage you to think about this. Go home and start a process in your head about how you're going to get through this, start this journey of building your presence, building your network, and building your reputation to move you to another level to achieve the goals that you have using this social networking tool.